10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the John DeVito Show. It is the day before Thanksgiving, and we have got a kick-ass show today. We're interviewing one of the best, if not the best, podcaster on the Podbean platform, Slightly Serious. So I'm really excited to get him on and talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, and we'll talk about my little mishap last night. So we will be back in a minute. We'll start the show and start talking about Turkey Day. Hey, Eric, if you want, call on in. Hey, Dottie, welcome. We'll be starting in a minute. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the John DeVito Show. And tomorrow is the big day. That's right. It's Turkey Day. And I'm pretty excited for Thanksgiving. And as I've said, it's one of my favorite days of the year. I absolutely love Thanksgiving. I think it's an amazing holiday. It's all about family. It's all about chilling out. It's not about material things. It's about just, enjoying your family, enjoying the food, and just really having, kind of a great time with your family. So I'm looking forward to it. So I've got to tell everybody, I'm going to tell everybody about my big mishap that I did last night. And this is going to be pretty funny. I know Dean and Joe already saw it. I posted this on Facebook on my private page, and she's a friend of mine. So I did something really stupid last night. It was pretty funny. So Eric, if you're here, buddy, join the call-in if you like. You can throw in your 2 cents worth as I interview Slightly Serious once he comes on. But I'm very excited. This is going to be a great show. We're going to be interviewing Slightly Serious. And in my opinion, I know a lot of you agree with me, Slightly has one of the best shows on Podbean. He's very good. I like him as a person. I agree with a lot of the things he stands for. And I think he's got a fantastic show. But today we're going to take the opportunity to get to know him on a personal basis a little bit more. And I think that should be fun. What do you think, Eric?
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Welcome, Robert, and welcome, Jess. Glad you could be here.
Yep. Welcome to everybody coming in. We did our first.
Let's fill the live cast.
Yeah, let's fill that live cast. So I'm going to talk for a little bit as we let people get in. But, we had our first interview yesterday with Jeremy from Cummings is Culture. And it was a great interview. I didn't realize before speaking to him that he was an athlete in high school. He played football, he played baseball, he played basketball, a lot like me. So we had a lot of things in common, and it was kind of nice to learn about Jeremy of Cummings is Culture. He's a new podcaster here on Podbean. And as I've said before, if you guys get the chance, check out his show. When he gets on a rant, he just goes, and it is fun to listen to. And he's a very bright guy, really knows his stuff. And he has a combination, like during the day, you might get political shows, but if you catch him on a Saturday night, man, it's off the hook. It's crazy. And he has a good time. Remember that one show we were both in with him, Eric, and he was doing, prank calls to people, and he was calling.
Oh, the Cummings After Dark show.
That was so funny. I was hysterically laughing during that show. So, all right. So we've got a few people coming in, and I'm ready to tell you all about my big mishap I did last night. I mean, this was so stupid. And I knew as soon as I did it, something was wrong. Now, last night, I'll kind of set the mood, set what was going on in my house. It was the night before Thanksgiving, or 2 nights before Thanksgiving. My wife had the day off yesterday. So she was, prepping with my daughter, cooking, banana bread, all these different things. The house smelled fantastic. So I was just kind of chilling out in the house and just relaxing, doing my thing at night, whatever. I did a music podcast last night that was really a lot of fun. I think I had like 100 people stop into that show, and it was pretty good. And Mr. T was in there for a long time listening to my classic rock last night. So I decided to do another one tonight with some new songs, which should be kind of good. But anyway, last night I'm sitting in my chair in the family room, and I decide, that I'm thirsty. So in my house, we have 4 kids. We have 2 adults. We go through a lot of milk. We go through a lot of juice. We probably go through, I don't even know, 5-6 gallons of milk a week, if not more. We need to buy a cow, honestly. If we had the room, we could probably do that. but we have like this big plastic container of like either lemonade or fruit punch or whatever it is in the fridge at all times. So when that big container is being washed, if it's in the dishwasher or in the sink or whatever, we have a smaller little plastic container that we use for the juice. So, so I open, the refrigerator. I don't see the big plastic container. So I see a small plastic container with what I thought was lemonade. It looked just like lemonade, and it would always be in the same spot when it's in there. So that's kind of like the backup plastic container that we use. So I pull out the plastic container with lemonade, and I use the ice machine on the front of my refrigerator to fill up my glass with crushed ice, and then I pour a nice big glass of lemonade. So I go back, sit down in my nice recliner in the family room, start watching a little TV, hanging out. So I decide that I'm pretty thirsty. So I reach over, grab my giant glass of lemonade, nice chilled lemonade, and I take a good, huge gulp of this drink. And I probably drank like half of the glass in one swig. I was that thirsty. So all of a sudden, as soon as this stuff was in my mouth and as soon as this stuff started to go down my throat, I realized, okay, this ain't lemonade. I'm not sure what it is. So my wife was sitting on the couch next to me, or, over a little bit. I was in the chair. She was on the couch. So I look over at her. I'm like, oh my God, this lemonade's awful. What's wrong with it? She looks at me and she goes, where'd you get the lemonade? And I said, I got it out of that small container in the refrigerator. She's like, John, that wasn't lemonade. That's chicken broth. So she'd apparently filled this thing with chicken broth, and it was filled to the top. To me, I took a quick look. It was the same kind of color to me. So I poured it into this. I chilled this chicken broth, and I literally drank half of it. I had, I think, 2 or 3 drinks of different things after that. And even like the next morning, I still had the taste of chicken broth in my mouth. It was absolutely nasty. So that's one of the things I did last night, thinking it was lemonade. I took a big giant gulp of chicken broth. And let me tell you, I would advise.
I would be inclined to say, boy, you're as blind as a bat.
Oh, it was awful. I mean, I'm lucky I didn't throw up. It was absolutely nasty. And of course, my family all thought it was hilarious. So they were all laughing. And, but hey, that's, I guess, one of the things that, happens. Maybe you have some turkey day errors and turkey day mistakes. And there's my little turkey. So yeah, the chicken broth is good warm, but trust me, when you have it in ice, it is not a good taste at all. So, hey, Slightly Serious, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you this morning, John?
I'm doing great. Hey, you're getting called out. I see me in there saying you're late, mister. I don't think you're late. You're okay. You're right on time, right?
You know what? What's funny is I have a clock in my office. I'll have to take a picture. I'll put it on Twitter. But basically, it kind of signifies how I'm always late.
Well, it's funny. I've got on my laptop, and this could be a Gen X problem, but on my laptop, I've got a clock right now that says 12:04. When I look at my watch says 12:07. So I have a Fitbit, so it automatically updates with the time. And I would think that the computer with the laptop would do the same thing, and I cannot change the time. I cannot change it for whatever reason.
That's funny.
If I'm looking at my computer clock, it's always 3 or 4 minutes behind. And me, you just tried to call in. I missed you. I don't know if that was an accident, but if you want to call in, you can. You're always welcome to call.
Hey, Billy. Hey, Mr. Arvalo.
Okay.
Well, the other thing, John, I would like to point out is my handlers didn't wake me up in time to make my coffee and all that. So I have to blame my handlers.
All right, so somebody maybe wasn't doing their job. They didn't get you ready for the interview. I got it. All right. Now, you have to understand, I had people last night sending me emails of things I should ask you. So I've got maybe a couple of those weaved in here, but it's going to be pretty easy for the most part. I've got a bunch of questions written up, and as I said, I was saying this before you came in. Honestly, your show, in my opinion, is one of the very best, if not the best show on Podbean. You've developed a good following, and there's a reason why you do it. You're an honest, genuine guy. You talk about the things that you believe in, and you and I see eye to eye on pretty much everything. I agree with a lot of the things you say, and I wish it was a little bit earlier. I'm an old man. I end up going to bed early, but I do catch as much of your show as I can, and I've always enjoyed listening to your show. And I guess before I get into my list of questions, what made you, decide to start podcasting?
I guess being in California and the climate, the political climate here in California, as everyone knows, it's kind of like the same of where you're at. It's very left, very liberal, borderline socialist. And it's one of those things to where I have very strong opposing views on things than most people here in California. You live in California, you're supposed to be on the beach, you're supposed to have a fit body, and God, you have to conform to the way and the ideas of everybody here. And at the end of the day, and especially with the pandemic going on, it's one of those things to where you're tired of beating your head against a wall because nobody around here gives a shit about what you have to say.
Right.
And the ones that do, they're hard to find because they're in the same predicament that I am in. So I figured, why not try to do a podcast? And, I listened to some other shows that were on Podbean before actually going through with it and getting all the equipment and all that. And that's the main reason. It's like one of those things to where, I know there's other people that disagree with me, and I'm okay with that. But at the same time, listen to what I have to say. I'm more than open to hearing what other people have to say as well, because everybody's opinions matter. What doesn't matter is what gets spread all over the news media, because what the news media is, what it used to be, is not what it is now. What it is now is all a propaganda machine. They don't report the news. You look on any newscast, and all they are pundits. They'll tell you how you think they should, how they feel that you should believe it.
Yep.
And it's one of those things to where people need to get real information. There needs to be effective dialogue in society. And we don't need to bash each other over the head. I mean, I have some panelists on our show, other hosts that are on our show, that we don't agree with each other on very many things at all. And I've met one of them in person. We get along great in person. We have to go out and have a great time. And that's what it's all about. Just because you have differing opposing views doesn't mean you need to slam each other over the head with shit.
No.
We're still a society, and we should still be civil and have respect for each other.
No, I agree completely. There's a woman that lives near me here in Massachusetts, and she runs the local theater group that my son is in, my son Matt, who has autism, and she is on the absolute opposite side of the political spectrum than I am. But I mean, she is a wonderful woman. She's a nice person. She's loving. She's caring. She does a lot for her community, and she's really just a spectacular person. I had posted some political things on my private Facebook page, and she actually wrote me a private message just asking me to explain how I believe those things and how I think those things. And she and I, went back and forth and had some nice conversations. And even though, she and I are probably never going to agree on a lot of different things, I told her at the very end of it, I said, listen, I will never forget what you've done for my son. I will never forget how much you've helped him, how much you've meant in his life. I think you're a wonderful person. And just because we differ politically doesn't mean that we can't be friends and like each other. And she feels the same way. And I think as a society, I love you mentioned that about your podcast, because I think as a society, that's something we need to relearn, because we are just kind of caught in the circle or cycle of hate, and just, one side has to destroy the other. But you're right on the mark. I mean, when it comes to the news that's being delivered, it's not fair. It's not right. It's one way. And I think that you get a certain maybe percentage of the population that understands that. But I still think the vast majority of the people will turn on that television or turn on their news source, whatever it may be, and believe what the media is telling them, because they're the media and you're supposed to be able to trust them. They don't look deeper. So I think it's great that you started this podcast to maybe help to enlighten some people, and you've done a good job. I mean, I grew up in a very Democratic family. My parents were Democrats. My father is a liberal. He hates Trump, and I have gone, to the other side. I'm registered as an independent, but I certainly voted for Trump twice, and I'm proud of it. I have nothing to hide in that. But that's great that's why you started your podcast. Where do you see your podcast going? Is this something that's going to be a hobby, or do you think this could turn into something bigger for you? Or is it already?
I honestly don't know. It's turned as of right now, how I see it is that as long as I enjoy doing it. See, I've never started it for any monetary type of reasons or anything like that. I mean, if that comes along and that happens to be something to where it could fulfill like a career type thing, then I will take a look at it. But the most important thing for me is that it remains fun. With all the important stuff that we talk about and all of the conversations as far as, the political type talk and other important issues in our country, I also try to, get in some fun stuff because I understand not everybody wants to talk about serious stuff all the time. That's kind of why it's called Slightly Serious Show, because I want to kind of mix it up a little bit. But as far as long term, I mean, if it comes into something to where it's, spreads, then that's great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Like I said, at the end of the day, as long as I'm enjoying myself and, I don't want to say it's all about me because it's not. I mean, without the listeners out there listening to the crap that comes out of my mouth, I don't really have much of a show, and I really don't like talking for an hour and a half all by myself. So I do have to give a lot of credit to the people that we have on each and every single night. We have Eric, we have me, Pertwee, and yours truly as well. So without them, I don't know how mundane my show would be, but I'm grateful for anybody and everybody that contributes and listens to it.
I agree. I mean, I'm sure that you're a lot like me. I mean, honestly, when I see people coming into the show and I know people hang around and listen to me, I'm kind of humbled by that. It makes me feel like, wow, maybe because like I said to someone yesterday, I have done now, I think 145 shows. Most of my shows are relatively short, an hour and a half. I haven't listened to one of them. I can't listen. Sometimes I accidentally click on my show and my voice will start, and literally my daughter and my family will laugh because they'll see me going, "Oh, Jesus," and I try to pause it right away because I just don't want to hear. So I've never listened to one of my shows, so I'm hoping I'm not boring the hell out of all of you. I might be.
Well, you know what? No, you have a great voice, and I had the same fear when I started. And I started editing some shows, for obvious reasons and stuff like that, to try to make it a little bit more enjoyable to listen to for people that downloaded on Spotify, Apple, and all the other stuff. But it was one of those things to where then I got to the thinking of, okay, well, we're going to start doing a video type thing. And voice is one thing, but when you have this image of yourself about how you look, when you think that you have a radio type face,
yep.
Try a video job.
I'm with you. No, you had given me the information as to what you use to share on live stream, and I have it set up, and I just haven't used it yet because of the same thing. I quite frankly just don't want to see myself on video, so that's why I haven't done it yet. And I thought about doing it for this show. Every show, I'm like, yeah, I'll just do it for the next one. So
I'm telling you, I cringe every time, even to this day. So I joke around that everybody gets to see Mr. California 2020, but that's kind of how I hide my insecurities.
Same here, brother. I'm with you. I understand completely. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, the person. I mean, you're a California guy. Did you grow up in California? Have you lived there your whole life? Tell us about you.
Yeah, I grew up in California. I've been here all of my life. I'm not the typical, quote unquote, California surfer type dude, hang loose type guy or anything like that. I grew up, primarily grew up with my mother. My mother and father got married and divorced at a very early age. I think they were 18. By the time they were 19 or 20, they divorced. And so I spent most of my childhood with my mom. And on occasions, I would see my father from time to time. Anytime you'd see the other, when I'd see my father, we'd have a great time. It'd always be going to a sporting event, whether it be a former San Diego Charger game or a Padres game and stuff like that. So that was always fun. Over the course of my childhood, there was some depression, which many children experience and stuff like that through life. Whether or not that had to do with not seeing both of my parents, I don't know to this day, but I went through it. I got through it. And I struggled in school from time to time. And my mom was a single mom through most of my childhood. Busted her ass, worked for a company for over 20 years. And pretty much anything that I really wanted, no matter how hard it was, she would do her best to provide it. And, loved my mom to death. And she's done an outstanding job. During my high school years, I got into a motorcycle accident right before I entered high school. And I fractured my femur bone because I was on a dirt bike. And, I tried to be a part of the popular crowd. And I know how to ride this. And to make a long story short, I flew in the air for 25 yards and I fractured my femur bone. So from that point on, I decided, I want to live with my dad. I'm not doing good in school. Every time I'm with Dad, it's very exciting times. And so I went over and made this transition over there. Did better in school. Kind of lackluster as far as the fatherhood experience. It wasn't as fantastic as I thought it would turn out to be. He was always at work. He did not he had not enjoyed his home life with his wife at the time. So, he'd go to work, come home at 10 o'clock and all that kind of good stuff. And I would never see him. But anyways, did great in school. As soon as I graduated high school, I got out of the house, out on my own, and started working. Got into the gaming industry. Worked there for about 13 hours. Excuse me, not 13 hours, 13 years. And thoroughly enjoyed myself. It was, I don't know, do you ever go to the casinos or have any fun at the gaming facilities, John?
I do. I've been to Vegas a few times, and also we have quite a few places that have opened up now in the New England area. So we have a few places in Connecticut and a couple of places that are pretty close to me in Massachusetts. So I do enjoy it. Yes.
Yeah, so I had a wonderful experience there. Was probably one of the youngest management personnel that they had ever had. And had some medical complications with my eyes to where I had like 3 eye surgeries. And so when that was over and done with, I decided to get out into start my own business. And so me and my partner have been in business. We have a couple retail vape shops here in San Diego and all of that. I don't know. It's been quite a journey so far. I'm 43 years old at this point, which I feel like I'm 60, but I've always said I'll be happy to get to 60.
I hear you, brother. I hear you on that completely. Let me ask you, you mentioned the motorcycle, the dirt biking, and I'm kind of glad you mentioned that because I took my 2 youngest sons, Ethan and Brandon. They went to like a dirt biking lesson, this full day class with one of our neighbors, and they had a blast. But then literally after that day, the first 2 people I talked to that were dirt bikers told me they both broke their backs dirt biking. And now I hear you talking about how you got injured also on a dirt bike. And that kind of scares the crap out of me thinking that, it's that dangerous where literally everyone I talked to has had like a serious injury, doing the dirt biking thing. But the one thing you mentioned about that is you said you were trying to get into the popular group. How was it for you as a kid? Were you part of the popular group or not part of the popular group?
No, I would say I was not part of the popular group. I mean, I think number one is I'm not aside from the podcast, if you just know me through the podcast, you'd think I'm a very talkative guy.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've met me in person, and she can speak to this, that I am like the most reserved guy there is. And so in addition to being reserved and kind of, not such a extrovert, I guess, I moved a lot as a child. I would move different schools and stuff like that throughout the county. So I was never able to have a continuous group of friends. So I would say I was not a part of the popular crowd.
I see me saying she had to get you drunk to talk.
See, I like to analyze a lot. I'm a very analytical person.
Right. Well, it's funny when you talk about the popular group, the not popular group. I mean, it's so irrelevant when you get to be our age, and it's so stupid to think about how that meant so much when you were a kid. But honestly, when you're a kid, it does matter, and it does, I think, affect the way people grow up. I mean, for me, I don't think I ever became really popular until probably my sophomore year in high school, and that was because of football. Middle school was tough for me. Elementary school, probably the same. But then I became a football player. That got me popular. I was captain of the football team. But I can honestly say that even when I was there and, captain of the football team and, people liked me because of that, you don't really know who your true friends were. And quite frankly, I never liked it. I thought it was annoying. I kind of am more comfortable on a smaller scale also with people I'm comfortable with and not like in large groups and that type of thing also. So I think for me, you would probably find the same type of thing. Like if we met for dinner and there was 6 or 7 people at the table, I would probably be relatively quiet until people talk to me. I like to listen and take in conversations and maybe not speak as much as I would here, on a podcast. So that's interesting to hear that you're a little bit more reserved also. I could be that way as well. So, so I guess more than your child, what was your life like as a child? Did you play sports? Were you?
Yeah, as a child, I played sports. I played baseball. Never got into the football thing.
Smart.
I don't know why, but I played baseball. I really thoroughly enjoyed the game of baseball. I was never really good at it. I played Little League for I don't know how many years, but I played up until like I was 11 or 12. And then when I went into high school, I'm like, I want to get back into playing baseball. Yep. So I'm telling you, Dad was all about it because, he used to play for the Cincinnati Reds in their farm system. Like he was at a AAA.
Your dad did?
Part of their AAA affiliate, apparently.
Oh, that's cool. Wow. That's huge.
And he tells me he was supposed to be the backup to Johnny Bench, which I'm still trying to dig for information on that. But
Right.
I'll let everybody
If
know.
was, that's pretty amazing. I mean, but
that would have been pretty cool.
Wow.
But so in high school, I tried to try out for, the junior varsity team. And it was the most fucking embarrassing time of my life.
Oh, boy.
And I had never tried to hit off of a pitching machine, right? And so when they're doing the tryouts and stuff like that, you have to hit the ball off of this pitching machine.
Now, which type was it?
Was it a year since I've been playing baseball?
With the 2 tires in the hole, because you just have to focus on that hole and the ball shoots out. I don't know if that was the type you used, but it's a lot different than hitting off a live pitcher.
Yes, it was exactly that machine. And so after, I don't know, I would say like 20 or 30 swings and misses, I'm like, you know what? Get rid of the damn machine. Have someone throw it to me and I'll fucking hit it.
Oh.
And so they did that. And of course, I started to hit it. I guess I can see better off the ball coming off of a hand than a machine.
Right.
But anyway, to make a long story short, I didn't make the cut and I gave up on that.
Okay. So baseball was probably the sport you liked the most. Did you have any other activities like, band? Were you involved in, did you like certain types of bands that you followed, music, anything like that? Like what other things were you into when you were younger?
Well, I played an instrument. I didn't really have a following of like musical groups and stuff like that. But in high school, I played the trumpet. And one of the weird type of things, I guess you could say, is I really never learned the proper way, if there is such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But basically how I learned based on the pitch and identifying where the note was in the scale. I couldn't tell you if it's an F or an A, but if I saw it on the sheet, I know what pitch and I know what buttons to push. So that's how I learned that.
I tried for a while to play the guitar, and for whatever reason, I just did not get it. I had no musical ability whatsoever, and it was strange because both of my grandfathers both played the saxophone, and they were both in band with the saxophone. And you think that the musical carried over, but with me, not at all. I love music, but as far as playing an instrument, I was not good at that at all. So,
in terms of instruments itself, though, the ones I find most fascinating and most satisfying to listen to, I think the saxophone, even though I'd never be able to play it.
It's beautiful.
And the piano.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
They're both beautiful instruments. I mean, the saxophone's got that special sound that really nothing else makes, and it's just a beautiful sound. And I know one of my sons tried to play it. It just didn't take with him, but he tried and it wasn't for him. But now,
if I had skinnier fingers, I would try the piano a little bit more, but
I think I have like shorter, fat hands, I guess, and that's why I always mistype when I'm typing things on my keyboard and stuff. I hit like 3 whenever I type, Now, after high school, did you go into the military, go to college, or just go right into business out of high school?
I looked into going into the Navy, but I did not pursue that. And basically, I kind of went into the gaming industry only because I had an addiction to gambling, in fact. And so I saw that I spent most of my time, I had first worked for a security company. I'd work 10 to 12 hours a day. And in my spare time, I would go be playing blackjack.
Nice.
And I'm like,
that was my game.
Well,
also.
I enjoy this.
Yep.
Instead of being on this side, why don't we work there and we'd probably get the same type of satisfaction. So that's what I did.
Nice.
And it was amazing. When I was dealing, I don't know if people know this, but like at the casino, we would, as a dealer, we would keep our own tips. And that's a very rare thing across the industry right now because most of them, they do what's called a tip pooling. So basically everyone gets an equal cut, no matter what type of service you give the customers, you're going to get the same as anybody else. Which
typical socialism.
Kind of shitty.
Typical socialism.
Right, exactly. It's socialism at its best. Exactly. It's like, hey, if I'm providing exceptional customer service and all that, I'm entitled to what I make.
Yep.
The jackass next to me who's not saying a word to customers and just dealing cards and, just shutting up and dealing, why does he deserve the same amount as me?
It's so true.
And that actually played into a decision I had to make. So when I first started to be a dealer, we would share tips. And I would make, I don't know, $80, $90 a night in tips. For an 18-year-old, that's fantastic. There was no complaints.
That's great money.
Now, and about a year into it, they're like, you know what? We're going to let everybody keep your own tips. John, my tips went from $80 to $200 to $300 a night.
Wow.
And so that was fabulous. That was fantastic. That continued for a good, I don't know, about 5-6 years. And then came the draconian laws back into it. You know what? To make things fair, we got to make things fair. Everyone's going to go back to pulling tips. I'll tell you what, about 80% of the people that work there left to another place where they can keep their own. And that's, you compare that, like you said, that's socialism right there. Everyone's equal. Everyone shares no matter how hard of a worker you are.
No, it is.
You're going to get the same. That prime example is the same thing that I take into society and how we should view things. I mean, 80% of the employees left. That tells you something. So, but it was a wonderful career. I eventually got into management, and enjoyed that. Managing people that are older than you takes some time to get some respect, but you earned that, and I did, and pretty much was loved by anyone and everyone. And if I needed to, if my businesses failed or I had to go back into the industry, I would have no problem getting back.
So let me ask you, if you want to win at blackjack, what's the trick? I've always been told to play at a full table. You want to have other people at the table. And I always try, I always have like a set of rules I try to follow when I play it. I'm actually pretty good at blackjack. I'm not great, but I'm good. I mean, I'm not a professional, but I generally can win fairly regularly, and I think most times the odds are set up to lose. Do you have any tricks of the trade for anyone that might play the game?
So yeah, there's some tricks. I mean,
I see me saying he has tricks.
Well, I won't say tricks, but the best way to play blackjack without having to make it feel like it's a job is basically, there's what's called basic strategy. And if you follow basic strategy, you're going to have the best odds that you can possibly have. Now, if you want to get an advantage over the casino, there's ways to go about that, and that's counting cards. Now, it's not illegal, but if the casino happens to find out that you're doing it, you might be asked to refrain from playing, which I have been we call that backed off. And I've been backed off a couple places in Las Vegas for doing
now,
that.
How can they tell you're counting cards? Because I can't do that. I don't have the ability to do that. So
that was one of the major things that I kind of mastered. And basically, it's the pattern of betting is the easiest way to identify.
Okay.
Because obviously, when the odds are in your favor as a player, you're going to want to increase your bet. And so how they determine that is, say you start off, your minimum bet is, we'll say, to make things easy for people to understand, we'll say it's $10.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to play $10, whether it's in the favor of the house or if it's just like even. Now, when the trends start to play into where it's in your advantage and it's your favor percentage-wise, you're going to increase that by a specified amount of units. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to win every time. All it is that you have a higher percentage chance of winning that hand. And so when you see someone, a card counter, we'll say generally the minimum they'll flat bet is $25. When it gets into their favor, they're going to up that to $200 to $300.
Okay.
They'll go from 25 to 200. To where the average person, if they're playing $25, they might go to 40, 50, maybe up to $100. But generally, you don't see someone going from 25 to $200 to $300.
Right.
Now, when someone does that, it doesn't necessarily mean they're counting cards. They could just be the average Joe.
Right.
But what tends to happen if the casino is smart, they're going to have a supervisor kind of keep an eye on that. And basically, the supervisor will go ahead, watch that game, and count down the deck as the cards are coming out and see what those wagers are and if they coincide with what the count is. The one instance I guess my claim to fame for the 13 years that I had in the industry, I'm not sure if you ever heard of a cheating group called the Tran Group.
I have not, no.
So the Tran Group, one of them actually used to work at the casino that I worked for, and that was Sequan Casino in El Cajon, California. And the Tran Group, if you, it's out there on Google and stuff like that, but they scammed casinos all across the country millions of dollars. And I was the one that caught them at our casino back here at home. And basically how that played out was I had a friend that was playing on the game. And basically you had two other people playing. And they started to play batshit crazy to where they were intentionally doing something to get rid of a player. And so they got rid of the player. And in comes the third guy, the money guy. And this guy, he has a camera under his sleeve, which feeds out to the parking lot to a truck. And I know a lot of people out there listening, they're like, wow, this is like total conspiracy type shit. But no, it's really the truth. And so what happened would be the guy would play an entire 6-deck shoe, which basically consists of 6 decks of cards. That all gets recorded as the cards come out, gets relayed back to the truck that goes into a computer. Now, see where this fits in is the dealer is in on this. So the player and the dealer have communicated prior to this occurring. And the dealer's obviously getting paid off. And so the dealer, because you're probably thinking, well, who cares if he's videotaping the cards as they come out, right? Because the dealer's going to shuffle, and it's all going to get mixed up, right? But that isn't what happened. So what the dealer did was called a false shuffle. So it makes the appearance that he's really shuffling the cards, but the cards go back in the way they came out. And the computer automatically generates and tells him which hands he's going to win and which hands he's going to lose. So it was a very exciting event for me. I was at in the at the time of it occurring, I was quite pissed off. Because I didn't identify exactly what was going on, and I had to investigate it a lot more. I mean, I pulled 3 or 4 dealers in because the dealers were making a lot of money and none of them wanted to talk. But we definitely busted them. The following evening, the dealer came back into work, got on a game, and we had the sheriffs come in and handcuff him out on the floor, take him away.
That's like a big operation. Now it's funny. Whenever you start talking about counting cards, are you a fan of The Hangover, the movie, by any chance?
Yeah, it's a great movie. I really enjoy that one.
Yeah, counting cards isn't illegal. It's frowned upon, like masturbating on an airplane. You remember that line from the movie?
Well, masturbating on an airplane, I don't know. I mean, if you're in the bathroom, that might be legal. But if you're in your chair, I don't know.
My mind goes right to that line. I can't help myself. Oh.
Well, you know what? My favorite portion of a movie would be Vegas Vacation.
Oh my God!
And the one bald-headed blackjack dealer.
Yep.
Do you recall that guy?
Yeah, I do remember him. Yes.
And my favorite part is he would be like, "Hey, Griswold, why don't we just do this? Why don't you give me half your money? I'll take you out back, beat the shit out of you, and we'll call it a day."
That is awesome. That is, I think, Vegas Vacation is my favorite out of all the vacation movies. Nick Papagiorgio, the whole thing. I absolutely love that movie. It is so damn funny. Oh my God.
It was great. And the guy, like the personality that guy had, and here's kind of how as far as customer service, it's a perfect way to identify. It's like when you're a dealer and you have a lot of people that come in and out because you're changing tables every 20 minutes.
Right.
And you have different personalities you deal with. Sometimes if you know what you're doing, you know that you can kind of be a little pushy. You can kind of give it to the players. You can joke around about them losing. But obviously there's times where, hey, you might not want to talk at all and just shut the hell up and deal.
I had one dealer. He looked right at me, and I was kind of having a rough day, wasn't doing well. He looked right at me and goes, "Hey, buddy, why don't you learn how to play blackjack?" And I remember sitting there for a couple seconds, and finally I'm like, "You know what? Fuck you!" And I got up and went to another table. I don't know if he didn't like me, just didn't feel like having me at the table, but he just stuck it to me, and I'm like, "All right, pal, I'm out of here. You got your."
Oh yeah.
But
and here's the thing. I mean, people come there. Most of the people, if they win, it's great. But most of the people, they come there to be entertained. They're there for enjoyment. They're there to have a good time. And I had this one table, is the one that sticks out the most in my memory. I had a full table of like 5 or 6 people, and I was beating the shit out of them. I got like 21, or I had blackjack for 5 or 6 straight hands, right? And after the 6th one that I got, I couldn't help but to start laughing. And, they were pissed. They're like, "Why are you laughing, JJ?" And I say, well, look at it this way. I mean, I'm kicking your ass 5, 6 hands, and you're all still here. They're like, "Yeah, you're right."
Oh man, I was at Vegas 2 years ago, and I think it was on the roulette wheel. I walked by, and it was kind of like a big thing going on where I think the color black had come up something like 12 times in a row, and it was kind of crazy. And some guy went over to take a picture of it. I remember one of the security guards came over and grabbed him, and kind of
Oh yeah, no pictures.
the picture. So, but yeah, it had come up like, I guess the odds were just astronomical for it to come up like 12 times in a row. But I remember that being kind of crazy. But let me ask you, you run some vape businesses now. How did you get into that? And, why did you decide the vape business? How many shops do you have, and how is that going for you?
Well, I got into the vaping industry. Like I said, my transition from the casino over to doing having businesses. I smoked when I was in the casino. I smoked about a pack to a pack and a half a day. And you have to understand. I mean, as a dealer and in management, there's a lot of spare time. When you're dealing, you're on a table for an hour, you're off for 20 minutes. On a table for an hour, off for 20 minutes. So I smoked a lot. And I started to transition to, they looked like cigarettes, but they were electronic cigarettes at the time. And they were okay, but they helped me a little bit. And it was one of those things, as the industry progressed, I started to switch over. And as I had made the switch, I started feeling better. I felt, as a smoker, when you have to climb up a flight of stairs, you're like, at the top, you're like exhausted. It's like, okay, we're going to stay here at the top of the stairs for 5 minutes, and we're going to catch our breath, and we'll continue on. Well, after vaping for a while, I felt much better. And it was one of those things to where I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked that I had a different choice of flavors because I enjoy nicotine. I have an addictive personality, obviously. And it's one of those things to where if I can provide people out there a less harmful alternative to smoking combustible cigarettes or chewing tobacco, and I can make a living at it, why not? And, I did a lot of research for the first 6 to 8 months. I spent a lot of time in a local vape shop, and the owner of that shop was very gracious to kind of make me understand things and learn the business and stuff like that. And it's progressed pretty nicely. We've been up against a lot of regulations, a lot of negativity out there, a lot of false news, fake news. Earlier this year, before the pandemic was a big thing, people were saying, oh, and the media was all over, oh, vaping is killing people. Well, it's a very vague statement to make because you have people vaping nicotine type liquids and you also have people vaping cannabis products. And what the media fails to say out there is that people were dying from vaping cannabis cartridges that were bought off the black market. But, that headline of vaping is killing people, very misleading. And it's really, you have to, as a citizen of this country, you have to really take a step back and really analyze things to where, you have another country that has done a lot of studies and has come out and said that vaping is a 95% less harmful product than tobacco, combustible tobacco. But you have government here in the United States not wanting to agree with that, wanting to get rid of the category. And they all say, well, it's bad for kids. And yeah, it's bad for kids. So is alcohol, so is drugs. But at the end of the day, if we want our society to have access to less harmful products, why not make that available? If you're so worried about it, if you get rid of that category, well, the kids are just going to go back to smoking nicotine products such as Marlboros. So what are you accomplishing? I don't know.
That's true.
It comes down to the money. It's a financial thing.
Something happened here in Massachusetts. I know you have your issues with Newsom. Dictator Baker here in Massachusetts, he, before the pandemic, shut down all the different vaping businesses in Massachusetts for, I think it was a good 2 or 3 months when those studies came out about, children and, the dangers associated with it. He literally shut them down. So I remember the vaping businesses were struggling to stay afloat. And it was the governor of Massachusetts just decided on his own authority to shut these businesses down. And again, we're supposed to be in a free country. And again, if you don't want to smoke, if you don't want to vape, if you don't want to drink, don't do it. For me, I was a tobacco user, and I, like you mentioned being an addictive personality. I think I am also. I, started with chewing tobacco, playing baseball and football. Then I moved to cigarettes and smoked plenty of weed all through my 20s. And I've moved.
John, I have a question for you, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, did you smoke or chew tobacco because of the way of the flavor of it?
I think chewing tobacco, I did kind of like the flavor of it. And for me, I think I did it because a lot of the other guys did it. The pro ball players were doing it, so I did it. And
I did Red Men back in the day.
Yeah, then you get addicted to it. What was that?
I chewed Red Men. Have you ever chewed that?
I did. I chewed Red Men, and then also some of the smaller tins as well, like Copenhagen and things like that. So, and then eventually I smoked for probably a good 10 years, and then I quit smoking and haven't really smoked since then. So, for me now, it's just my gummy bears for my legal weed in Massachusetts. That's the one good thing about Mass is we have legal weed. So that's kind of a good thing, I guess.
Right? Yeah, that's what we have out here. They're against vaping, but smoke all the weed you want.
Drugs are okay. Drugs are good for you. Take those. Those are okay. So.
And it's okay to have flavored cannabis products, too, because kids don't like those because of the flavor.
Hey, look, I got a couple of questions for you, and I'm going to turn it over to some of the people that are in the chat also to ask a couple if you're okay with that. I don't know how much time you have.
Yeah, no, anytime.
What's your biggest pet peeve with people and in life?
Oh, God. Such a wide open question. My biggest pet peeve, I guess, with people is when people take things too personal. And especially when we're, discussing politics or when one of a favorite line that I had, as far as, because I'm not a political correct kind of guy. I never am, never have been, never will be.
Good.
And it's one of those things to where if people can't take a joke or, have the maturity and respect for one another, I think that's my biggest pet peeve. It's like one of there was a former comedian, and he was telling gay jokes. Yeah. And I'm gay, and it's all I don't take offense to it.
Right.
But there's people out there that are offended, and I loved his line. He says, "If you can take a dick, you can take a joke."
There you go. Exactly. Well, it's funny because I remember back years ago. I mean, again, I was the 6'4", 275-pound football player. And I went out with a group of friends in Rhode Island years ago. And one of the guys that came along was gay. I didn't know him. And, I don't care. I mean, for me, if a person's a good person, I don't give a shit what your color is, what your preferences are. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But I remember the guy was very quiet around me. And finally, one of the girls I knew really well came up to me and said, hey, just so you know, Chad's a little worried. He's gay, and are you okay with that? I'm like, of course I'm okay with that. Tell him just to be himself and whatever. So he and I
as long as he respects me, that's all that matters.
He was a funny guy. We had a great weekend. So one night we went out to the bars in Newport, Rhode Island. He went out to a gay bar. We went to the the other bars. Mm-hmm. Later in the night we went to pick him up. So this was my first time going into a gay bar. And I went in, and it was funny. For the first time in my life, this place was kind of cheesy. For the first time in my life, I knew what it was like to be a woman in a bar, where I literally in the span of like 5 minutes had like 4 or 5 guys come right at me, ask me if they could buy me a drink.
Yeah, if they know, especially if they know you're straight, John, they're going to be like, we'll convert you, we'll buy you all the drinks you want.
It was good for me. I wasn't offended. The only thing I was offended of was some of the guys that approached me. I'm like, you think you really could get me, man? I'm too good for you. That was the one thing that kind of we had a good time. We hung out there the whole night. My friends were, the girls were with like, oh, he's straight, and at that point, whatever. But the guy was a great guy. We had a good weekend. It was funny. I felt bad though after the fact, thinking that he was afraid to be himself around me. But I guess sometimes maybe you need to be. I don't know. I guess you're going to run into people who are assholes in life, or at least back then, maybe.
Yeah.
Was the case.
Well, there's always going to be assholes in life, and I think that's one of the things that I think society needs to get their head wrapped around. It's just like racism. In my opinion, it's never going to go away. There's always going to be douchebags out there.
Yep.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be as rapid as the media likes to portray it.
No, it's true. I mean,
the other strong pet peeve I have is different organizations trying to get, I'm all about, people being treated equally and everybody having their activist type groups. But when the ask is far beyond what's equal, that's a big pet peeve. I don't agree with that.
I agree completely. All right, let me ask you one more question. I'm going to open it up for these guys to see if they have anything. And this is, kind of a typical question, I guess. But if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be? And Cummings had a good answer yesterday. That one really got me.
Wow, dead or alive?
Yep, and one person.
I would have to say, honestly, the one person, if I could have dinner, I'll pick one, but then I'll expand it to two because they kind of coincide with each other.
Yeah.
It would have to be Tony Gwynn. He's the former baseball player here at the San Diego Padres.
Great hitter.
Known as Mr. Padre himself. Him and a former broadcaster who used to be a military veteran that was in combat. His name is Jerry Coleman. He used to be the broadcaster of the San Diego Padres.
Sure, I remember that. Yeah, I'm a big
And I grew up on that. I mean, as a kid, I would, I lived up in the mountain area, so I wouldn't be able to go to many games. And hell, at 10, 12 years old, I found myself imitating him outside, listening to the games. And I did have the opportunity to meet him one time in Hawaii. And we took a walk down Waikiki Beach. So that was a very nice thing. But if I could have dinner and stuff like that, those would be the two people.
Being San Diego, you guys have my favorite broadcaster out there right now. Don Orsillo does the games now, right? He's the Red Sox guy for about 10 years with Jerry Remy. And the Red Sox ran him out of town. And still to this day, I cannot stand the guy they brought in to replace him. Don Orsillo was probably my favorite broadcaster of all time, and he's in San Diego now. I'm sure he's
Don. He does he's on TV. I think he does the TV broadcasts.
Yeah, he's good. He's
and
really
he does a fantastic job. It's him and Mark Grant.
Yeah, so I've heard they're good. I see Sinister Breed. Mine would be with my dad. I hear that. My mother passed away 13 years ago. She would certainly be on the list for me also. But does anybody else have any questions up there? I've kind of run down the gamut of a lot of the questions I've had. Does anybody else have anything they would like to ask slightly serious while we have him in our?
The dad thing would be interesting. Kind of a weird tidbit. It's like ever since I had tried childhood with dad and that didn't work out, he lives less than 4 miles away from me.
Really?
And I don't even know if I've seen him at all this year.
Do you have a relationship with him, or really not at all?
It's kind of a weird relationship. When it comes down to it, from a father-son standpoint, when he's needed, I guess, or when I might be sick, he's there. Otherwise, he's very busy, and I kind of get it at times, but it's one of those things to where you have to take priorities in life, and I don't know. I think sometimes people fulfill their daily lives with too much and forget about what's important. So definitely make sure everybody is aware of what's important in your life.
Well, the years pass quickly. I mean, time does not wait for anybody, and I could be the first one. I mean, I feel like I was 25 years old yesterday. Here I am now, 52 years old, and it goes by quickly, man. It does not stop. So, Eric and Robert, I get you guys up here. Do you guys want to ask any questions? Do you have anything you guys want to say at all?
Well, I just want to say that Slightly's a great guy to hang out with, and he's my best friend. And I love hearing his show every night. And he also comes over to my show. I do a show called the Mr. Clean Show. Every night from 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. Central Standard Time.
I've been in your show a couple times, Robert. Now, do you remember the one time I came in, I requested for you to play Happy Days, and then you played the theme song for Laverne and Shirley right after that. I thought that was great. Do you remember me coming into your show?
Yeah, that song kind of goes along with Happy Days. I watched both of those shows as a kid.
Too. Those were great shows. I like both of those shows very much. Two of my favorites, without a doubt.
I'd have to say my favorite all-time show is Married with Children.
Oh my God, that is such a funny show.
My two all-time favorite shows are Alf and Dinosaurs.
Elf was a good show.
Dinosaurs. I never saw
that. The show that goes, not the mama, not the mama, not the mama, I'm the baby, gotta love me.
Oh, that's
and then Alf. Yeah, TGIF, early 90s.
Nice.
Yep.
And Baby Sinclair, boy, he was an instigator.
Well,
and Alf, I mean, he was a real hoot.
Hey, we were just talking about Vacation and talking about Married with Children. Has anyone here seen the remake of Vacation? I don't know if anyone's seen that.
Nope.
Honest to God, that may be the funniest movie I have ever seen in my life.
Sinister has.
It is dirty as hell, but it is absolutely hysterical. I'm talking like Hangover hysterical. So if you get a chance, if you haven't seen the remake of Vacation, give it a go. It's super, super funny. Oh my God, Sinister. I love it. It's so funny, but just nasty dirty. So just be prepared for that. Don't watch it with the kids. So listen, we're close to the hour. So I wanted to keep these shows about an hour so people will, download and listen and that type of thing. If you wanted, I guess to close it, if you wanted people to take away whatever it is about you, what do you want people to know about you? What do you want people to think of when they think of, Slightly Serious?
Well, I would have to say that when you think of me and you think of the show, it's one of those things to where, we're open to listen to anybody and everybody, no matter which side of the aisle you're on. If you want to have a good time, we always have some bits at the end of our shows to have, for entertainment. We encourage everybody to come in and voice their views. We'll be respectful. We're always respectful. And it's one of those things where we open it up to everybody. Effective dialogue is important to society. We're all about the rights and freedoms of every citizen here in the United States. And we just want to keep the dialogue going and get away from all the spew from the mainstream media. What we have to say and how we feel is much more important than any politician or media outlet.
No, it's so true.
And I encourage everybody to join us. We're on weeknights, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 Eastern time. And, we're on YouTube and all other sorts of formats as well. But right now we're still on Podbean, and we recently got over to a new channel, VOPUSARadio.com. And that's actually something, when you have time, John, I'd like to discuss with you. And I'm not sure when you might be available.
I know, I keep meaning to do it. And we got to talk, because I would like to learn more about it. I think probably some of it comes down to laziness also. But no, I would like to talk about it. Over the next 5 days, we'll get some time off. So maybe Friday, early next week, something like that, we could chat a little bit. But I would like to learn more about that. Because, Podbean, I do like a lot of things about it. I do like a lot of the people that we've met. And I do like some things, but there are a lot of things about Podbean that I don't like either. So I'm certainly be up for, considering, maybe broadcasting on another platform or doing something else. Hey, Mr. Samuel, we're actually doing an interview with Slightly Serious. He's one of the podcasters on Podbean. He has a very popular show at night. So we were just interviewing him and asking him some questions. That's what we're talking about today. So go ahead.
Yeah, I will say this, I think God has blessed all of us to be together, of course, because, as much as like the COVID pandemic sucks for everybody and have knowing loved ones or friends who have been afflicted by it or sadly have died from it, I think the only positive that came out of this is had the COVID never happened, I certainly would have never met Slightly. I would have never met Robert. And I certainly, John, would have never met you. And I certainly would have never met me and Truly and the old man and Dina Joe and Cracks and Lingalonga and Jimmy and a host of other great friends, people I've never met in real life. And I hope to one day be able to get to meet them in person.
Yeah, I love the idea. I think maybe it was Slightly that mentioned, or somebody mentioned there was
yesterday
get together in Vegas. That would be great. I would love to meet everybody. I was just thinking that the other day, how cool it would be for us all to get together and get a chance to meet each other in person. Different people from different areas of the country, different backgrounds, different everything, and just get together and hanging out and having a good time. I think that'd be really cool. So hopefully we can make that happen at some point. And I feel the same way. I'm very thankful that through this platform, I've met so many good people. And, I've got this hobby now that I enjoy doing on a daily basis. And just like, what Slightly said earlier, for me, I'll do this as long as it's fun. For a little while, it wasn't fun for me. So I took a couple of months off and came back. And now, I'm having a blast back again doing it. So, it's about having fun. It really is.
And
that's what it's all about. It's one of those things to where, one of the things that I would love to do, like I mentioned yesterday, is do a couple of days in Las Vegas. I'm trying to get a certain casino out in Las Vegas to give us space on the casino floor to where we can do live shows. And hopefully we can gain some traction and get more listeners that are just patrons of the casino.
That would be awesome. Because I know
that'd be awesome.
I have a friend that's morning drive sports guy out in Denver. And they do that for the Super Bowl. They go out, as you know, they've got the whole area, a whole giant area where all the radio stations from the country come in and do their broadcast live from the Super Bowl. So that would be great if we could get together and all do our shows from there and hang out. That would be awesome. So, hey, if I can help with any planning, let me know, because I'd love to be involved. And, even my wife, I was talking to her. She's like, oh, that'd be fun. Bring my family up, whatever. Let's have a good time in Vegas for a few days. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. It really would. It would give a chance for listeners to meet hosts as well, and just a great overall benefit for everybody.
All right. Well, unless anybody has anything else, Eric, do you want to run down the list of shows that are coming up? And
another thing I will say about discovering Podbean too, and discovering such great people like you and Slightly and others is, I think the podcast platform has proven to be a catalyst for changes in society and to get people talking. And I'm certainly very proud of the work that our shows have done. I'm certainly proud that me and Slightly were able to secure great people like Anthony Carbonaro and Michael Baca and the members of the Free Think Institute. And we still have our fingers crossed that we can hopefully get Peggy Franklin L at some point and a couple other interesting people to come on for conversation and interviews. And I'm really proud of the work you've done, John, with like the Pamela Smart case and the Circle of Hope and Agape abuse scandals. And I just see it getting better from there. And I know Sinister Breed, he's put out some really good shows, and the Old Man and Dina Joe and Ralph. I mean, that they've proven to be great people too.
And I don't want to forget Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean, every time I've been.
Yeah, and Robert, and me. And
Robert,
truly,
I consider you a friend also, so hopefully you feel the same way about me. And I'd love to have you come into my show anytime. And if I'm ever awake when your show's on, because that's late for me, I'm an old man and I'm in bed usually, I will tune into your show if I'm awake when you're on. But
well, what time do you?
Go ahead.
What time do you usually go to bed?
I got 4 kids, and my wife and I both work. So usually I'm in bed by 10 o'clock Eastern time, maybe 11 at the very latest. I get up early. I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning almost every day. I'm an early riser, but I generally go to bed pretty early. So usually I think you're on a couple hours after I go to bed, unfortunately, and I miss your show.
One of the things before I leave, John, I want to say I definitely commend you for the work that you've done, exposing different issues out there like the Agape and the Pamela Smart type stuff, to where it just shows that shows like yours make a difference in society, to where's the media in all of this? Without our voices, people like us can make a change through society, and that's the main thing that's important.
Yeah, same thing here. I mean, for you, very similar to you. I mean, if this ever turned into anything great, but I'm very realistic where there's, literally 1 million podcasts out there, and you'd have to have lightning strike in order for yours to be, the one that turns into something big. But for me, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And if my podcast remains like it is now forever, I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with it. And, I'll continue to do what I can. If people come to me with causes and they have things they want me to help them with, I'm here. I'm here for you. And hopefully the things I've done over the course of my show have shown that, I can be trusted and that type of thing. And honestly, coming from you, that means a lot to me, because like I said, I have a great deal of respect for you as a person. I like your show. I really respect what you do. So that means a lot to me coming from you. I appreciate that. And thank you. So, thank you very much, B.
No problem. I hope you.
Thanks
you
for
having
chatting
me
me
on today. And it was a pleasure to be here as a guest of yours. And I look forward to seeing you again and continuing the conversation.
My friend, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, Eric, you want to listen today?
I'm going to read what me said in that super chat, and shout out to your wife, meaning Dr. Cheryl, putting up with your ass and working the front line. And I'm sure Dr. Cheryl would appreciate that.
I would agree with you 100%, putting up with my ass. I am an eccentric pain in the ass. I'm the first person in the world to admit that. I'm high maintenance. I agree with you.
If I could get that soundbite from Throw Mama from the Train where Anne Ramsey's character is like, pain in the ass.
Nobody type anything yet. I'm going to take a picture of that, and I'm sending that to my wife. So I got the picture. I'm going to text that to my wife, and you are going to be her new best friend after she sees that. Oh, man. All right, Eric, so you all good? You get everything said that you want to say?
I'm certainly going to invite everybody later on today to check out, the Talking Corner podcast with Crack. She will be going live at approximately 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific for her Comfy Pants Wednesday show. And but a half hour prior to that, Frankie D's Crib will be on live. But I'm sure you'll probably want to get in there and support him as well and see if you can convince him to come do a get to know your podcaster interview. And I'm sure you might convince Cracks to do the same. And of course, be on the lookout for VOP USA Radio to do impromptu shows here on Podbean as they're still transitioning to their new platform. And of course, Slightly will be on tonight and Friday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, since he's taken Thanksgiving night off. But he will surprise us with a published show, though. And also be on the lookout for the Ralph Williams podcast, and let's help him get to 300,000 engagement points in his live shows, either before the end of the month, if not before the end of the year. And be sure to check out Chit Chat with the Old Man every weekday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. But since he's taken tomorrow and Friday off, he'll be back next Monday. But he might surprise us with an impromptu music show. But we look forward to also having Dina Joe here on Friday to do her Get to Know Your Podcaster interview, and Mr. Impact on Saturday, which I'm sure, Truly and me and Robert and I, along with Slightly, hopefully will be here to show support. And then next Monday it'll be the Sinister Breeds, Chuck and Billy, and Tuesday it'll be Josh from the Two Dumbasses.
Also, I've been talking.
Those should be some awesome shows.
Both with bands also and Trice Talk. It looks like they want to come on as well, so I'm still trying to schedule.
Oh, definitely look forward to having Donald Wayne and Dennis Lee on, and and definitely look forward to having bands on. And but it's all a work in progress. But I think our podcast community is one big family. And
yeah, and Dina Joe, I told the chicken broth story early in the show. I'm not sure if you were on to tell everybody that, but just a real short version. Last night I went into our fridge, grabbed our drink container, thought it was lemonade. I poured a big glass of it, put ice in it, went and sat in my chair, and I drank like half of the glass in one drink, and it turned out to be chilled chicken broth. I almost threw up. It was absolutely horrible. So I actually told a long story of that earlier, so I'm not sure if Dina Joe heard that, but it was nasty, and my wife thought it was pretty funny. Oh, hey, Robert, I would love to interview you. Absolutely. That would be great. I would love to interview you. So, Robert, if you want to interview, I think you and I have friends. Oh, I think you sent me an email once. I'll shoot you an email, and we'll set something up, Robert, and I would love to have you on. That would be awesome to get to know more about you. Okay, does that sound good?
Oh, yes.
All right, everybody, I'm going to hit the music, and
Yes,
I'm going to get back to my life and start doing all the work.
You have any final words, Robert?
No, that sounds good. You can email me and we can schedule a time for an interview, because the only way you're going to get to know me better is if you ask me questions.
Right. I'd love to do it. I'll send you the email today. We'll come up with a date, and then we'll start promoting your interview as well. Does that sound good? All right.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. All right.
Love you and God bless you, everybody. And like our friend Dina Joe always says at the closing of the Chit Chat with the Old Man show, and she'll say it on Friday, always be the reason someone smiles today. Let your smile change the world, but don't ever let the world change your smile. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and have a great weekend. Love you, and God bless
Love
you all.
Now. Take care.